Linda Murray and Whitney Jones, and for another episode of Film Flex Friday. You talking about mad respect? Our guest today, military and IFBB pros. Not just IFBB pros, but they've been on the world stage, the Olympia, and managed to do that, serving our country. Today, we welcome Julia Waring. Julia's 2 times Chicago Pro champion, 3 times on the Olympia stage. And welcoming Stephanie Gibson, turned pro, I believe, in 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
In 2020 at the USA, and in 21 made her debut at the Savannah Pro, taking home the Olympia qualifier, competing at the Olympia in 21, and placing 3rd in the world. Thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you for
having us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Wow.
Glad to be here.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to start with you, Julia. Okay. You've been, I know, military 5 years,
yes,
right? Graduated from West Point.
Yes.
Amazing.
Thank you.
So tell us, just give us your history as far as, let's talk about how you started in NPC and then on to IFBB Pro League.
All right. So yeah, I graduated in 2008, went into the military, Army Engineer Officer, did 5 years, and got out of the military, and I was like, I need a physical challenge. Like, in the military, you're up at 4:30 in the morning, you're doing PT, then I would lift weights, you're always challenging yourself physically. So I got out and I hired a personal trainer just for life. I was like, let me do something, challenge myself. And then we had been training for about a year. Something tragic in life happened. My grandfather died, and I was just needing like a venue for all the pain, to like channel all the pain. And he was like, we should do a bodybuilding show. And I was like, okay, I've been lifting weights literally since I was 14 years old. So I had a good base. I just hadn't been lifting to build a shape, obviously, because I didn't really follow bodybuilding when I was younger. So he introduced me to the sport. That was my first introduction to the sport of bodybuilding. Did my first show, I think it was a Mississippi Classic in like Jackson, Mississippi in 2014. I did the novice category, won, and then I was hooked. I was like, this is amazing, like amazing. So yeah, 2014 was my first show. Did about 2 shows a year. I did my first national show in 2015, and then I went pro in 2017 at NPC Junior SA in Charleston, South Carolina. So yeah, rookie, went to the Olympia as a rookie. I mean, kind of, your rookie season, so something we have in common. Won my second pro, came second in Pittsburgh Pro. Very first pro show ever, and I was like, okay, went on to Chicago, won, and then qualified to Olympia my rookie year, and it's just been an amazing journey since then, amazing.
Yeah, 2 tough shows.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is not easy.
Not easy. And then Chicago,
as a
newbie.
Yeah. I was just like, I wanted to see where I stood. I was just like, let's just go into the fire.
Yeah.
Like, just go into the fire. I didn't even realize my potential. My husband said he always knew my potential. So I'm on stage, and they call my number for first call outs, and I'm like, that's me. Like,
yeah.
That's me. And then, we're up there, then they're like, top 2 come out. I'm no expectations, just went in and just did the best I could. And it was such an amazing experience. Yeah.
But that's, not many people are willing to jump in the fire like that at all. But that probably has a lot to do too with your grit, your determination, your military background, because that's scary. But in reality, those shows, you're being judged basically by the Olympia panel. And for a newbie, that's even scarier.
Right.
But I was at the show, and your husband's hilarious.
He is,
If you've ever been to a show that Julia's in, you know her husband. He makes himself known, not shy, the absolute biggest fan, which I love. And yeah, you were a little hesitant. You're like, wait, me? But you heard the husband making sure you knew. Get up, go. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Amazing.
That's so cool.
And you, Stephanie, tell us your NPC experience, how you got started, and then on to IFBB.
So my father was actually a bodybuilder. So he did quite a few shows in Tijuana, Mexico. And so never went pro, but he had such a passion for it. And I tell him now, you need to do masters, like let's go. You know, but he has a little girl, so he's focused on her now. But 13 is when he started to take me to the gym and just build up that, you know, that foundation for me, just like with you. Like I just worked out just to work out. It wasn't like with any intention of anything, just going there because he did, you know, that's my dad, I want to go with him. And then I actually wanted to do a show when I was younger, like 19, in bikini, which is probably, at the time I was small. So I was like, okay, this just works. But then I had gallstone surgery and that kind of just defeated me for a little bit. And then the older I got, and especially when I met my husband, who was also an athlete and his father was, you know, into bodybuilding as well, he started to compete. And then I was like, maybe I should. And he was like, no, I think you should too. But I was so hesitant. And then one day I was like, I have one life.
Yeah.
You know, like, how would it be if I get older and I'm like, man, I should have tried. And I'm like, you know what, Steph, let's just do it. Who cares? So I did the Dennis James. I think it was 2019. We won that overall. And then, and mind you, we had coached ourselves up until my second show, which was the Olympia 2019 amateur. And my husband won his pro card and the overall and classic, and I got second in my class. And I was just like, I'm so close, right? And so that's when I, you know, started to do some research and coaching, and then I found Carly actually on Carly Starling Harrell on Instagram, and I was like, oh, cool, like we're both believers, you know, like. So I was like, let me hit her up, and then she was like, I'm gonna give you to Justin. So that's when me and Justin, my coach now, got together, and then he coached me for USA's. I won the overall there, and then again for Savannah. And then just punched that ticket to Olympia. And I was like, what is happening? Because like, we don't see the potential that we have like our husbands do, but, or like outsiders do. But yeah, that really just showed me like, that gave me that affirmation, like everyone is not lying to you. Like they're telling you like, this is it for you. Keep going, you know? So that's how I got here.
And that's pretty fast. I mean, the story of you win your pro card, you win your pro show, you go on the Olympia stage, place third.
I know.
Like that's absolutely incredible. And hopefully now you realize your potential.
I do.
You
and
have a lot of people hammering in your head.
It still hasn't settled in, and it's really weird because I was hoping it would be, but now it's like, because we're like, okay, what's the next step? What do I need to do? Like we never have that time to really just take it all in. Or at least I haven't made that time.
Sure.
Because I'm like, okay, I'm coming now. You know what I mean?
That's where you gotta be.
So.
Wow. So both married.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And your husband's a pro.
Oh, yes.
Yes, which is outstanding. 2 pros in the house.
I know, it's awesome.
Yes. Does your husband work out? He's obviously works out too.
So he grew up with bodybuilding. Like he has known bodybuilding his whole life. He started competing in 2012 in men's physique. You know, and he's been very close, like top 3 multiple times at national shows. But right before COVID, he took a break. So he's actually been away from the stage for 3 years. Hoping that he can either get in at the end of this year because he's dealing with school and work. So he's trying, you know, he knows he can't do it all. Like when it's time to prep, like he's got to be all in. So either at the end of this year, but definitely next year, he will be coming back to the stage. And he loves bodybuilding. Like me going to the Olympia was like his dream come true. It was like, he was like the biggest fan. He was like, are you okay? Okay, like I'm out. Like I need to go meet all these people. So I'm just blessed that I've been able to allow him to have those experiences through me. And it's obvious, like, I feel like, God put us together for a reason. So,
Yeah. Well, it's important, our spouses, to be there and support you. I mean, especially because what you guys do, it's a lifestyle. It's your sleep's important, your training and being the fact that you have such your commitment as far as your service to your country. I mean, to me, that's really deep, because I always think, like, how do you guys plan? How did you plan? I mean, even now, because you can be deployed, in your case, being active duty. And I think you told me that you had to pass up the Arnold because of that. So talk a little bit about that.
So I got hit with orders to go to, it's called a non-commissioned officer academy. And that's because I had made the rank up. So there's certain ranks that you have to go into training to become like a supervisor and learn how to lead a team and stuff like that. So they happened to book me for when the Arnold was happening, and I was like, man, do I, turn down this training? And I mean, I'm sure I could have pushed it off, but I don't like doing that, especially with my job like that. Like, I'm service first, right? So that's why I was like, okay, well, the Arnold will be there. Let me be here for my work and my troops, and show them that, okay, I can balance everything, like I want to do this. I want to go there to be better. So that's It was hard. It was hard.
Is there a chance that this could happen this year as you prep for Olympia?
So I don't really get tasked to go anywhere. It's like little trips here and there, but they know that I do this and that, so like they're very accommodating and supportive.
That's amazing.
I know, like when I came back from Olympia, like my whole desk was just confetti, like, like my board, it said third in the world. Like it was
that's
just
amazing.
It's like, they're awesome.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about where I'm at now, is that we're just so close knit, and I could tell them like, hey, like I may not be able to go with you guys, but maybe I can, what is it called? Virtual, or tune in if I need to, because I'm the subject matter expert in my position. So if you need me, I'm still here. So I try to balance it. It is difficult, but it helps when your team is behind you. So
well, I think too, with the background that you guys have in the military, obviously to do what you guys do, it takes a lot of discipline, takes routine.
Yeah.
Those are all things that are characteristics of what we do in the sport. So you look at athletes like you guys, and I think that allows you to excel in this sport because that's just second nature for you guys. And it's how to tap into it. You're just switching from being in the military and that mindset into being an athlete. So we've got lots of questions we want to dive into. We're going to take a quick break though, and then let's go into that topic, but we'll be right back.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else, every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on Trifecta.
And we're back with two military mavens who are also incredibly talented on the stage. We have Julia Waring and Stephanie Gibson. So with your service in the military, is this something that's in your family? What got both of you interested in going in that direction for your careers? Let's start with you, Julia.
All right. So I was it's called JROTC. So it's like the high school version of like getting to know what the military is about. So I don't even know why I signed up for it, but I did. It was an extracurricular activity, so I did. And it was like my introduction to what the military would be like, and I just thrived off the challenge. Like we had to do physical tests, so I've been doing pull-ups since I was like 13 years old. Don't know how, but I was. So we still had to, do pull-ups and push-ups and run, and we would go to these camps and it would be challenging, and I had an ability to like start leading. So we had like drill teams and color guards where you would march with the flags, and I would call the commands, and it was just like, I just thrived in it. I thrived in being a leader. And then my mentor, he was the instructor of the JRTC. He told me about West Point. Never heard about West Point, ever. But when he said it was free education, I was like, okay. Because I didn't have a college fund. I didn't grow up in a family that could afford to like pay for me to go to college. So I was like, okay, this is pretty, sounds pretty good. And then everyone else who knew who West Point was like, you gotta go, you gotta go. So,
I mean, it's just this very mediocre school. No big deal.
Right. So I did a summer stint at the Coast Guard Academy so we could get a feel of like what it would be like. And it was, it was tough. We were waking up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and, everything was like really strict, head straight ahead. But I still enjoyed the challenge and the structure. So I went to West Point 2004, and it's not regular college. It's definitely, while I was in West Point, I went to airborne school. Like that's what we did during the summer. We didn't go on vacations. Like I went to airborne school while I was at West Point. We went to the field every summer. That's where I learned the discipline. If you can, literally sleeping on the ground, that's what you do. You go, you need tools to go use the restroom. Like, this is what you do. Ruck marches. I'm sure for some reason they thought it was smart to put the tall people in the front. So you're doing like 10, 12 mile ruck marches, and in the very back, so I'm literally like running, to catch up. So this was my school life, drilling on the weekends. I ran track in college. So that was like my way to kind of like get away was my track team. So we had a good bond. But so went to West Point, had a 5-year commitment afterwards. I branch engineers. I majored in civil engineering, so it just made sense. Branch engineers, literally graduated in May of 2008, and I was in Iraq by January of 2009.
Wow.
So went straight to Iraq, didn't even know anyone in my unit. They were already there. I literally flew to Iraq by myself. Like I flew, was in Kuwait for a while, and I was like, hey, can somebody take me to Iraq? Like literally by myself, jumps on this like random plane with this random unit. He's like, I'll take you there, get there. My commander meets me, and he's like, I'm literally a female platoon leader, mostly males. I think I had one female. So, we went outside the wire. I couldn't like sleep by myself. I couldn't like go into the shower. It was like water bottle showers. So I had to have like a guard. I would run around the perimeter, and it was 1,000 Iraqis on this base, and they would like be catcalling and like giving me pictures of them. It was the most. It was an experience. It was an experience, but through it all, it was rough. It was rough, but through it all, I learned to tap into like something a little bit deeper, and that's what has helped me in bodybuilding. It's like when it's anybody who's bodybuilding knows you go to a dark place at some point, right? Like when you really get lean, there's that moment. It's like, whoo, you're hungry and it is hurting and you're tired. Like, and I learned how to tap into my spiritual side during deployments, and I've been able to roll that over into the bodybuilding. So I can go on and on and on, but it definitely prepared me. The physical challenge prepared me. It prepared me mentally. Being able to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, I was used to it. I've honestly felt like I've been doing it all my life already. So definitely was a good foundation into going into bodybuilding. So,
Great foundation.
Yeah.
Great.
I know.
Can't get better.
I'll tell you, I'm not used to it. In boot camp, I was just like, oh gosh, all the clicking from the MTIs, and you're just like, oh, they're gonna yell at us. But
what was it that got you into it?
So, it's just rough upbringing. I was tired of making ends meet, and then thankfully though, I met my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, and his mom and his parents were in the military. So my family has no affiliation with the military. But she was Navy, and I was like, I don't know if I could be on no ship. Like, I don't know. And then I was hard pass with, no offense, but Army, Marines. It was just no. And then the Air Force, it was like
it's the sexy.
It's the best branch. I'm not even trying to lie. They take care of you. You know what I mean? So took my test and got accepted, and then went to boot camp July of 2015. and then did all the school to prep me for my job. And then 2016, deployed for 6 months to the Middle East, came back, did some other training, and then deployed again the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And then that's when I actually got orders to come here to the Luke Air Force Base in Glendale. So I did 2 deployments before I came here. So, and it happened very fast. I had 2 deployments in 3 years.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I need a break or something.
Yeah.
Like, it does
Right,
get tiring.
yes, it is.
It gets super tiring. And especially when you have a spouse, you know, like, thankfully I don't have kids, but it's still hard to be away for that long, because it's like you grow
for sure.
independently. Now you have to reintegrate, you know, and try to figure each other out again. So that's tough. It's tough. But like she said, just having to be on time, wake up and do physical training with, you know, your team. Because we have tests every year that we have to pass. You know what I mean? So you got I don't know what you guys do. We got a mile and a half run, push-ups, sit-ups, circumference. Like, we got to stay fit. And then when we deploy, like, you can't be out of shape. The heat will kill you.
Yes.
The heat will kill you alone.
Right.
So just staying on your nutrition, like, and your water intake. Like, at the time, I wasn't fully committed to bodybuilding, but those things, you know, still help. Like, I'm just trying to survive. You know, give me some water, give me some food. So, and thankfully they had cafeterias out there, you know, and they have the, you know, the unhealthy stuff, but then they have the grilled chicken and veggies, and that's. People knew me, like, they called me container girl, because I was like, I had 3 containers walking to work, you know, just, you know, like.
Even before bodybuilding?
Even before bodybuilding.
No,
I'm an eater. I eat. So that's what was hard for me to accept with bodybuilding, is controlling my eating.
Sure.
Because I was like, no one's telling me to not eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but then I grew to like the challenge. And just in challenging myself in the military and in bodybuilding, you know, like, no one's telling me, but it's cool to see that I can, you know, like, tell my mind no, or you know what I mean? So it's good stuff.
I'm loving it.
Yes.
Gosh, what can I say? Well, I understand as far as like the military. I know in the very beginning, my husband, he served and retired in the military. So that was like my first introduction to the life. And I was like impressed, like, with women, for example, that they're pregnant. And my husband was like, it doesn't matter. Like, if it's time for you to be deployed, like, service first, and you just have to pack up and ship out. I remember getting up in the morning and having to do PT, and I'm like, okay, so you guys put a mat down? Or he's like, no, it's on the ground. And I'm like, oh, you running those boots? You don't have no Nike? Like, he says, no, it's so, I mean, I think, it's just really impressive, because you guys, like, this is a piece of cake, really, when you think about the IFBB and competing, because you guys, where you come from and your energy, and you know, it's like,
it's all mental. And I think we've mastered that at a younger stage. You know,
and the discipline, definitely the discipline. Well, I feel like being females in the military too, there's always this sense of like, you have to prove yourself sometimes. I mean, I was in literally like a mostly male unit. So, I mean, you just felt like, you know, physically you had to be, you couldn't just be getting by. Like, you needed to be maxing out your PT test. You need to be keeping up on the ruck marches, on the 10-mile runs. You better not be the one who falls out, especially if you're in a role of leadership. So I think that, it helps us with the confidence and just, you know, wanting to be at the top level. If we're going to do this, you know, we want to do this. And if especially as much as we put into it, as far as time, resources, you know, even with the family, just like, you just got to be all in.
So there's no being mediocre for you guys in the military, which of course parlays into you as an athlete. And it's probably so much easier because of that to tap into it when needed on the tough days where you're starving, or you got to do that extra round of cardio, or even having that confidence to hit the stage and own it. I mean, trying to prove people wrong and trying to level up if that's a characteristic on the daily for you guys in the military, then wow.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do is we'll take a break and come back and tap into what Julia and Stephanie's learned. So we will be back. And we're back. And from my understanding, we were talking about what, deployment?
Yes.
Deployment in Dubai? No. Tell us about that. Your hubby was just talking about
I know. Put me on the spot.
He put you on the spot. Right.
Honestly,
he wants you to take it. He wants you to.
Yeah,
he wants to go to Dubai.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
It is.
It is beautiful. The food is amazing, but it's still. I mean, it's still scary because they're different. You know, they're different culture, and then there's countries around that don't necessarily like Americans. So it is scary. And then because we get intel briefs all the time, like, hey, Iran is doing this and that, and I'm like, I'm here, like I'm like an arm's length away, like I would like to go home, you know. So those are the scary moments for me, at least.
Yeah. So being women, both of you are over in Middle East. I've never been to the Middle East, in a situation where, you know, they look at women differently, and by you guys being strong women, did you have to, like, I don't know, at any points, like if you go outside of the base or the area, like cover up or where?
Well, I know for me, we do have rules that we have to abide by in just being in the military alone. So they tell us don't wear tight clothes, don't wear tank tops. Like, I'm sure we could, but to respect us and represent us, you know, we're in their country. So yeah, we definitely did have to cover up more than we would out here.
We just wore BDUs, long sleeve camouflage,
In the heat.
And literally with the IBA, so basically the metal, the plated vest. So we wore that pretty much the entire time we're working. Had a M16, M4 wrapped around your shoulder. Had a Kevlar on. So I mean, really, all you could see at that point is just like maybe like my cheeks, because I even had glasses on. So when we were down range, we were always in armor because a lot of times we were outside of the perimeter.
And you were in Iraq. That's a different ball game.
So I mean, that's what we wore. At no other point in time were we out of anything but our uniform and fully armored.
Was it a pretty extreme and crazy experience for you in Iraq?
It was. It really was. Just the culture. I mean, I was an engineer, you know, and we were in construction, so we would have huge vehicles of like bucket loaders and the hauling trucks to get our. We had scrapers, like our huge dirt moving operations. So we would have to leave at like 2:00 in the morning at night so that we wouldn't be like vulnerable to attack. So we're, you know, driving at this very slow pace at the middle of the night. We're in these MRAPs, so like no air condition. You're like your truck commander. You got a gunner, you know, on top of you. And I don't know about you, but it is really hard to stay awake when it's really hot. And it's 2:00 in the morning, so you're trying to fight the sleep. And I mean, you can't. You're leading troops, and then you get somewhere, and you have log packs bringing in your food every day. I think I lost like 10 pounds within the first 2 months just because I didn't like the food. You know, flies everywhere, and then if a storm comes through, the log pack can't get there. They can't clean the porta potties. Like it was, it was a crazy experience. And I remember one time we were sleeping in buildings that had been mortared. So like you're living in these mortared buildings, and you know, in these bunk bags. So we would have to build our own little sea huts, and my team would like board off a corner. So like, you know, I would have some type of privacy. So it was very austere for me. The good thing was that because I was physically fit, my team kind of drew to me. So we would do stuff like flipping bucket loader tires. Like we would find a way to work out even if we didn't have the actual equipment there. So that part brought us together. The fact that physically I could keep up with them or even excel them. So that kind of brought us together.
That's good.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's really good.
Now I'm having flashbacks. Like
That's why I'm in the Air Force. I'm just saying. We go to tough places too, but
Yeah.
luckily I haven't. Like my second deployment, I was supposed to go to Afghanistan, but I had got pulled out and went to the same location I went to the first time. So,
Yeah.
you know, like
I mean, honestly, after I had no desire to go back. So I ended up in Hawaii for the rest of my career, which was amazing.
I know, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
reward.
Do you guys have a say in where you go, or is it just you're drawn and you go?
They okay, I'm just gonna say how it is. They want you to think you have a say, like you have a preference sheet. But it don't mean
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you're gonna go.
They just want to know what you think, and then they're like, yeah, we'll see.
Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
When I graduated, so it was based on our school rankings. You got to choose. So I was pretty high in my class. So I was able to. I chose Fort Rucker because I wanted to be close to home. My grandfather was getting pretty old, and then when I came back from Iraq, our team disbanded, and I called my branch manager. And I told her I had a desire to go overseas. So, I mean, if you have a good relationship, it's, at least, you know, on the officer side, if you have a good relationship with your branch manager, sometimes they'll try to work it out. I mean, I pretty much thought I don't want to go anywhere where I got to jump out of planes. Since I was, I was done with, did my 5 jumps, and I was like, I'm good. But it's never promised. It's never promised. It's the need of the Army. So if they would have needed me somewhere like Fort Polk, Louisiana, or Fort Drum, New York, then I would have had to go on. So I
mean,
I looked out, and it was a position available that had a need for me. So.
So we've talked about a lot of serious moments.
Right.
Now, you guys are both very fun because I know you both on a personal level. You got to share something fun about your time in the military, whether it was something you experienced, maybe something you saw. What are some funny things that you've seen? Because obviously there are some not so serious moments, even in Iraq, as you pointed out.
Yeah. I mean, when I was stationed in Hawaii, that was an amazing experience. It almost convinced me to stay in the military. Like I got to.
I mean, Hawaii sounds awful.
Right.
I can't imagine how you had any fun there.
We would do these physical challenges where we were like kayaking out in the water and running on the beach.
Wow.
Like, it was
I'm over here in Idaho.
So, and then I got to like travel to Asia to do, we would build schools for like Thailand, the Philippines. I went to Mongolia. Like it was an amazing experience. So I had a good time in the Army also, you know, so that was, it was, I mean, I was like 100,000 miles, like literally just flying to Thailand like 6 months out of the year. Like it was, get there, they're like, hey, Miss Miller, that was my maiden name. Yeah, and they would just like, if I had 2 exercises back to back, they'd be like, oh, just stay a week by yourself and then just jump on to the next exercise. So I mean, and being in Thailand, we lived it up. Like when I was watching, what is the show when the guys are in Thailand and they forget? Is it a bachelor party or?
Hangover?
Yeah, it's like
Hangover. Version of Hangover. Yeah.
Whatever it was called. I was like, I've been there. I've been there. Like, like I've been there in Bangkok. Like I've been in the red light dish. Like so, it's
right.
I mean, we had fun. Like we had. fun.
Wow.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was attracted to in my husband, and that it was like he was international and you know, living in Michigan. And then winning the Olympia and stepping outside and meeting and traveling and going to all these places, it was difficult dating people that just, they had that little small world, you know, and then it was like, wow. So amazing. Thailand.
I know.
Just all over the world.
So cool.
A lot of cool experiences.
Yeah, it was humbling too, because we would go to the underserved communities, and it's like, you know, we get to invited in, and they would, you know, cook for us, and we get to be with the community. Like I would have a translator with me, but it was, and then like I said, we would also go to the beach and go out and go to these amazing places. So it was a good experience. Yeah,
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we get the opportunity to tell the audience and for them to really get to know you. Yeah. You know, I was scrolling through social media. And I think at first I saw you, Julia, on Muscle and Fitness.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I didn't realize that she served in the military, you know? And so that's great. And then Stephanie, I think Patricia works for Wings of Strength. She brought to my attention that because you'd won my show. Yes. We met backstage. I had no clue. I did not know, you know, that you were of service. And this is like super cool because for me, it's just the foundation. You know, I know that you guys are like secure. You've got security going on. Like you said, you're like, it's time out for the games. You've laid that foundation. And what you do now in the IFBB, that's like what's it, icing on the cake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And two very humble humans too, for the things that you've accomplished in your IFBB career, as well as what you've done to serve our country. Yeah, you guys are very humble, and I think too, because experiencing things that, you know, are out of the whole realm of the USA and experiencing other cultures and realizing how lucky we are, probably gives a totally different outlook and perspective of the gratitude that you have to get to do stuff like this as a
100%.
hobby, you know?
So we definitely take on these, you know, opportunities like no one else, you know, not everyone can have it, you know what I mean? And I think, but that also allows us to show people that it is possible.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the cool part.
And bodybuilding, I feel like, have allowed us to help like our soldiers, because just recently the Army implemented deadlifts into their physical fitness.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, we're changing.
Yeah. So even though I'm not in the military anymore, I still work for the military. So my commander, you know, she's a colonel. She's like, hey, you know, can you help me with these deadlifts?
Yeah.
You know,
You're like, it's such a beneficial exercise.
Right. And then, you know, they have
You guys have to do deadlifts now?
They do. In the Army, they have to do deadlifts.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Well, they got to pick each other up too. So I would
they're trying to
understand.
make it more combat. Like if you're in combat, you're not usually going to be running 2 miles and doing push-ups. Like you're going to be carrying stuff.
Yeah.
You have
Makes
to
sense.
So they were trying to mimic it more for like a combat-related situation. But yeah, it's different now.
That's awesome.
So we've been able to help our fellow soldiers. They have to make height and weight. So they don't teach nutrition in the military.
Right.
Like I was the worst eater like ever. I just had a great metabolism. But I've had people come to me now like, I need to make height and weight. You know, can you help me? Can you give me some tips? So it's been beneficial even in that aspect.
Okay.
I agree. Yep.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It was amazing. You guys are two phenomenal women, and I know you both have very big goals for this year as you guys get going in your show season. So best of luck. We know we'll see you guys on the stage real soon.
Yep,
thank you.
absolutely. All right, guys, and this is another great episode of FemFlex Friday, especially because we have ladies that are of service to our country. Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you, Stephanie. And we look forward to seeing you on stage this year.
Yes, ma'am.